Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching a brand new edition of Policy Watch with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. Observing that the BCCI was a limb of the state, the Law Commission on Wednesday recommended that the cricket body must be brought under the ambit of the RTI Act as it falls under the definition of a public authority and cannot escape public scrutiny. In hard-hitting observations, it said non-consideration of the role played by the BCCI as monopolistic in regulation of the game of cricket has resulted in the broad flying under the radar of public scrutiny, encouraged an environment of opacity and non-accountability. In July 2016, the Supreme Court had asked the Commission to recommend whether the Cricket Board can be brought under the purview of the Right to Information Act. This followed demands to bring the cash-rich cricket body under the RTI Act to usher in transparency. In our first segment of Policy Watch, we will analyze the recommendation of the Law Commission to bring the BCCI under the RTI. Joining me on the program today are Chandra Shekhar Luthra, Senior Sports Editor, DNA, and Subhash Agrawal, RTI Consultant. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on this edition of Policy Watch. Shekhar Luthra, I'd like to begin with you first. What do you make of the Law Commission's recommendation of bringing the BCCI under the RTI's ambit?
You know, this is just another recommendation. I mean, if you ask me whether I am impressed with this kind of recommendation, I would say no. Because in last 10 years, we have been hearing all these kind of things. But again, there is a contradiction. What you were trying to say, that Supreme Court has asked the Law Commission to give its recommendation. But that has a contradiction with 2005 Z case, if you remember, when the television rights case came up and Supreme Court constitutional bench, 5-member bench, has ruled it out. They said it's not a public body. So the point is, whether whatever the situation was in 2005, the situation is still being the same. Now the point is whether it should come under RTI. As a journalist, I would say yes. But the point is, who is going to bell the cat? It's a wild cat. It's BCCI is a wild cat. It has some, you know, some 20,000 crores or more cash, you know, reserves with it. So point is, who is ruling BCCI? It's from, you know, all the politicians cutting across party lines. Everybody is there, or he was there, or he is still there, or there is ambition for every politician to be there, you know. So point is, somebody has to enact the law. So in 2013, if you remember, when Mr. Ajay Makan, he tried to bring in the sports legislature or sports code. What happened to him? It was thrown out of the window. Said, because all politicians, the cabinet people, they were of the opinion that BCCI should not be touched. Point is, somebody has to bell the cat. That's the...
Okay, so wild cat and it has to be belled is what you're suggesting. We'll get to that in just a bit. But before that, let me bring in Subhash Agrawal as well. You know, why should the BCCI come under the ambit of the RTI? Because this is a clamour that has been going on for a long time now. It's not a new thing.
See, firstly, I like to comment on the GTV case by Supreme Court. In that case, RTI Act was not there. Definition of public authority was different from what it is under RTI Act. So there is a difference between public authority defined in GTV case and now. Now this RTI Act clearly says that direct or indirect government funding can bring anybody in, under ambit of RTI Act. BCCI is indirectly funded because it is a confederation of state cricket associations which are indirectly funded through heavily subsidized land given for stadiums. And there are other expenses also, security expenses and so many. And earlier BCCI also used to get tax exemptions which it surrendered only to save itself from the RTI Act. So there is, moreover, not only state cricket associations, some public authorities are also members of BCCI, like railway cricket team, services cricket team. So there is every reason that BCCI must be covered under RTI Act, and more importantly, it is funded by craze of public money through public craze. So public money is much more important than government money. So, this is very necessary that BCCI should come under.
So, it's a classic case for the BCCI to be brought under the RTI is what you're saying.
Yes, it is government funded as well as public funded directly. Achha, now, see, there are arguments that selection of cricket team will be affected. RTI Act does not give blanket power to anybody to ask any question. There is a section 81A which exempts all the strategic decisions. So, what is there that there are so many financial irregularities involved. They are paying heavy legal fees. They are paying commissions on sponsorships. And to whom these are going? It is very necessary to know that these go to the favorites or relations or friends of those controlling the BCCI. One thing more, it is irony that in our country, in matters of sports, say of heavyweight ministers is more important rather than the sports minister. Mr. Ajay Makan was removed from the cabinet, and whenever matter relating to BCCI went to the cabinet, union cabinet, his views were overpowered by those of heavyweight ministers.
Okay, all right. Shekhar, Luthra, talking about belling the cat itself, if you look at what the BCCI has said, on condition of anonymity, there was one senior BCCI member who gave an interview to PTI, and he seemed rather, nonchalant about everything. He said it's just another recommendation. Let's see what has to be done in the near future, is what he said.
It's a very simple thing. When Mr. Agrawal was rightly said that they used to take lot of, permissions and also the some grants from the government, tax exemption. In 2008, if you remember, they gave up everything, and all the grounds which were also taken by BCCI is on the lease. They have never bought any ground from the government. So in a way, they are out of the ambit of that, I'm just playing a, devil's advocate. Point is, if you say that BCCI is a corrupt association, everyone knows, like any other association, they are also corrupt. But the point is, BCCI is the most successful sports body also in India. The kind of amount they have generated over since 87 or 92, I think that's phenomenal. That says a lot about the professional attitude of also some of the BCCI people. So point is, whether BCCI should be coming under RTI, what is going to happen to them? Obviously, Justice Thakur led bench in 2016, that July case, in Justice Lodha, that recommendation. They said BCCI performs public function, but also to some extent. They obviously recommended, if government wants to bring into a act for bringing it under RTI, please do that. If betting has to be legalized, please do that. That is not our jurisdiction. The point is, every time we talk about these things, BCCI is still the BCCI. They are still the richest body in the world, not even in India. Point is, whether our politicians from all parties, I would say, are they interested to bring it under the ambit of RTI? Then what will happen? It is like political funding of political parties. It is like, if that happens, what is going to happen to, if you see that audit report of BCCI, if you remember, people were distributing only gems, various cars or other things to their wives and everything. Even they bought the mangrove land in Kerala in order to, siphon off the money. But the point is, whether it will be in retrospective, whether they will be all penalized, if that happens, then everybody is there,
Subhash, what needs to be done to bring the BCCI under the ambit of the RTI?
Government should instantly, without any further study, accept the recommendations of Law Commission. See, already our Vice Supreme Court judges and members of Law Commission, I think nobody can be wiser than these persons. Then why scope for any further study to defer the situation? And secondly, it is super rich body.
Yes.
And what is it? it does not respect any judicial body. Petition of my wife at CIC, Mrs. Madhu Agrawal's petition, when the hearing was going on in at Central Information Commission, this super body managed ex parte stay order from Madras High Court.
And it's still there.
Is still there. They did not allow even CIC to declare the verdict. What is this going on? A constitutionally appointed autonomous body, have they respect for anything? Was it necessary that the decision would have been in favor of Mrs. Madhu Agrawal? It could be in favor of BCCI also.
Yes.
Arguments were going on.
It can go either way.
Anyway, and what happens? It is distributing money like freebies. It has created a situation where rich is becoming more richer, and on the other hand, farmers are committing suicide. Now, some cricketers are being paid rupees 5 crores annual salary apart from match money in crores, award money in crores, and then after retirement they get lakhs of rupees as annual pension, and those cricketers are earning heavily through advertisements. So they are creating a class distinction.
Okay, a class distinction is being created is what you're suggesting. Quick closing comments now from both my guests, starting with you, Shekhar, Luthra. Is it going to be any different this time around, or is this going to continue?
I think it's going to continue. I'm not very convinced whether, anyone, not to blame government obviously. There are so many other interests also involved. I don't think anybody is interested in belling this cat for various reasons. But the point is, first thing which you have to do, there is a sports code which is lying, in government's kitty somewhere since 2013. You just have to pass it. Everything will be solved.
Okay.
Whether you are cricket or hockey or anything, you pass a sports code like any other bill in the state, because sports is a state subject also.
Right.
You bring it in, everything will be resolved.
Sure. Subhash.
I agree with apprehensions of Mr. Luthra. It will never be a dream come true, and the matter will be deferred in the name of study of recommendations of Law Commission. And cutting across party lines, because heavyweight politicians are in every party, maybe ruling party and opposition party, and all of them unite when there is a mutual interest. So, I doubt the BCCI will come into RTI Act in some nature.
No, but good thing, Pereira, is at least this debate has started because of this. Because this is very important time right now. It's a historic time when our politicians can come together and bring it under the RTI.
Sure.
If that happens, everybody is going to just clap, not just watching all this, spot fixing, fixed matches or kind of thing. You have to take a decisive step.
Okay, the time is ripe to act right now is what both the panelists are suggesting. With that, it's a wrap on this segment of Policy Watch. I'd like to thank both my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. It's time for a short break now. Still to come, 97% normal monsoon expected for 2018, says the IMD. We'll discuss what it means for the farmers and the economy on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Policy Watch with me, Frank Pereira. India is likely to witness a normal monsoon this year. The Indian Met Department said on Monday the monsoon will be 97% of the long period average, which is normal for the season. The error margin in the forecast is plus minus 5%. The 4-month monsoon season for June to September provides about 75% of the annual rainfall to the country, where GDP is still largely driven by the agriculture sector. Several parts of India are witnessing agriculture distress, and a good rainfall is likely to provide some relief. The monsoon is considered normal if the average rainfall is between 96 to 104% of the long period average. Anything less than 90% of LPA is termed a deficient monsoon, and 90 to 96% of the same is considered below normal. In our next segment, we will analyze what the normal monsoon means for the economy. Joining me on the program now are Tajamul, former Chairman, Commission for Agricultural Cost and Prices, and Haque, Bhattacharya, Editorial Director of the Business Standard. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on Policy Watch today. Mr. Haque, I'd like to begin with you. After all the agricultural distress that we've seen over the last few years, this must come as great news for the farmers.
Yeah, as you said, this must come, and in this sense, after say 2 years, as you know, 2014-15 was very bad, 2015-16 was equally bad, 2016-17 only was normal for the farmers, and 2017-18 also was partly good. In the sense 18, this Rabi particularly, you have seen there was some problem, not basically because of rain, last moment rain when already
because of hail and especially
hail
Punjab, Haryana and
exactly.
Uttar Pradesh were affected
so that
as a
has
result
spoiled
of
the
that. Yes.
crop. So I think that way, if the monsoon is good, it is a good news, and it is good news for two reasons. One thing is that for the government it is a good news, it is going to be the last kind of monsoon maybe before this election 2019, and second is the government has already announced in this budget that we are going to provide minimum support prices based on cost plus 50% margin. So that will happen only when you have a good crop or good yield. If there is no crop fails, then the benefit of MSP does not go to the farmers. So both yield stability or yield improvement and also price increase are crucial for improving the income of farmers. So I think on the one hand there is a hope that farmers will get a better price, but if the crops also are not good, then they will not get the benefit of it. So if the message says, the monsoon message, that yes, this will be normal, I think this is good from both, from upar wala or niche wala. Dono sarkar, I think, seem to be meherban on the farmers. But the problem is like this, monsoon, if you talk about seasonal rainfall, that is not enough. The distribution of rainfall is equally very important, and sometimes it is very critical. We have seen in the past, June you get a good rainfall, and then July, August it is dry. Sometimes June, July you get a rainfall, and then after that again it is a dry period.
Sure.
So that unless it is evenly distributed and properly distributed, then again this does not really mean much. So we have to wait and see how it comes actually, because, and so it is too early to say that, because you will know a little bit in the first week of June. In some southern parts it already starts, Kerala, Karnataka,
yes,
Andhra.
Yes.
So that is how I think we will be able to say.
We need to wait and watch is what you are suggesting at this point in time. Let me bring in Mr. Bhattacharya. What does a normal monsoon mean for the economy, Mr. Bhattacharya?
Well, you know, the normal monsoon is good news for the Indian economy. Even though the share of agriculture in the GDP
has reduced over the
years. 16% or so, but still it has got a sentimental value to the economy's mood. One, the rural incomes get a boost. Number two, you have the hydroelectric power are reliant on good rains, because the reservoir levels need to go up. Right now they are 10% below normal. Out of the 91 reservoirs in the country, they are 10% below normal. And number three, if you have a well-distributed rain, then what happens is, what Dr. Haque said, that there are 36 meteorological subdivisions in the country, and even in what we call a normal rainfall, for example, last year, there are 1/6 of the country had deficient rainfall.
Yes.
The year before, 1/4 of the country had deficient rainfall. Now, even though we call that normal rainfall, so therefore, it's very important what he said, that you need to have a well-distributed rainfall, and on that the jury will be out closer to the date, because the economy and agriculturalists will look forward to the way the rainfall distribution happens, and if it is by and large covers the country in equal measure, it will be good news. The IMD as of now has said that this will be more distributed, well distributed than in the past. Is more important because winter rains have been deficient.
Yes.
So, which is why the reservoir level has come down. So, therefore, the economy will definitely get a lift. In terms of even the FMCG sector, the people who sell motorcycles, cars, tractors, yes. And in the FMCG sector, like the detergent, soap, and everything. So they all depend on good rainfall, which actually gives a boost to
Sure.
rural demand of this product.
Sure, sure. You know, the predictions so far seem to be good, Mr. Haque, but how often are they right or wrong? I mean, what's been our strike rate as far as predicting the monsoons are concerned?
For the last few years, I think particularly the prediction by the Indian Meteorological Department has been more or less accurate. I think some 5 years back it was not really so. So things have improved significantly. They are using a better model than, more scientific model than what they used to before, with large number of parameters and then coming out to this kind of conclusion. So I think they are quite good that way in predictions. So as on today, I think there is no reason to disbelieve them. We need to believe them. And because in the past 4 years, particularly, we have this kind of experience.
That said, you know, Mr. Haque, depending on the rains, depending on the rain gods is one thing, but we too on the ground need to do something to conserve water, to bring in new techniques and use new methods, because it can rain at the end of the day, but if you don't do something on the ground, then nothing's going to work for you.
Yes, you are right. Actually, that is one reason why in the last several years, in fact, we have been talking about rainwater harvesting, watershed development, conserving water, and but somehow not much really has happened, in fact, in terms of even coverage, and we need to invest more. This is what I have been saying even recently, that we have not invested enough or adequately to address this issue. In fact, still we have about 55% area which is under rain-fed condition. So in those areas, if you don't conserve water, then probably after a few days, again, there is no water to take care of the need of the crops or even of human beings. So I think this is an issue which needs to be addressed.
Indeed. You know, Mr. Bhattacharya, another issue that needs to be addressed, of course, is that of global warming and climate change. Are we, you know, aware of these problems? Are we working in the right direction as far as these problems are concerned?
I don't think we are. We need to do a lot more. But just to sort of, you know, add to what Professor Haque said, the IMD's short-range forecasts are getting better, but long-range forecasts, which are made in the month of April for the whole season, are still some way to go. I mean, if you take the last 5 years forecast, they got it exactly right only once. So I think long-range forecasting is still iffy, doubtful, but short-range forecasting, their ability has improved dramatically. So which is why, as Professor Haque was saying, that closer to the time, it will be better to take a call. Coming to the point about whether the climate change efforts need to be supplemented, is of course they have to be supplemented. Not only that, I think the market mechanisms and the policies should be attuned and fine-tuned in a manner that, for example, water guzzling crops need not get so much incentive. I mean, our entire MSP package is such that whether you grow paddy or sugarcane, you get, there is no disincentive that do we need so much sugarcane, and if we need sugarcane, what kind of water economizing cultivating practices are being put in place. So from that point of view, I feel that some incentive structure needs to be created, by which when a farmer is driven towards growing more water guzzling crops, then are they given adequate disincentive or some negative weights in their MSP package or not? These need to be debated. It's a very controversial issue, but I think time has come.
It is a controversial issue.
Time has come, because farmers' distress is what everybody talks about.
Right.
But after all, climate change, water availability, water tables falling increasingly at a rapid pace are issues that also cannot be ignored.
Indeed. Quick closing comments now from both my guests, beginning with you, Mr. Haque.
I think we should plan for the best, because already the indications are good, both from the government side and also from God. I mean, things are likely to be better. So there is no reason for the farmers to be unhappy. They should now look forward to have a better day.
Yes, Mr. Bhattacharya.
I think, you know, as you said at the beginning of the program, that 70 to 75% of India's annual rainfall comes in these 4 months, but a bulk of that water actually flows down into the seas, because our ability to store them into reservoirs, ability to keep them harvested is very, very poor even now. So therefore, while we welcome the onset of good monsoon. Probably it is time once again to commit ourselves to creating those mechanisms, institutions and schemes by which water that comes to you in these 4 months actually doesn't go into the seas. Instead, they are stored
and utilized.
All
right. On that note, then we'll call it a wrap on this edition of Policy Watch. I'd like to thank both my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. You can share your feedback and suggestions as well. Our email ID is policywatch.feedback@gmail.com. You can also tweet to us using our Twitter handles at FRP09 and at Rajya Sabha Television. That's it from me. See you again next time.